closing deals to opening minds. This is the Mr. D podcast. I'm Omar Andreasen, and we're about to get real about real estate, success, and the grit that it takes to build your best life. Let's dive on in.
Welcome to another episode of the Mr. D podcast show. My name is Omar Andreasen. Today, we have Tyler Gibson. So he's actually a seasoned real estate team leader, investor, and he's an entrepreneur with a passion for empowering others to build successful teams. Now, he does this with hands-on experience in the real estate industry. And he also established himself as a leader in the field, offering insider strategies for growth and success. His ability to connect with top industry professionals and his deep expertise in investing, systems, and leadership have actually positioned Tyler himself as one of the trusted figures in the real estate space. So as a top 5% real estate agent in Orlando, he brings so much practical insight, high performance habits, and faith-forward mindset to every conversation. Did I leave anything out, buddy?
No, we probably need to say all that. I'm just a guy in Orlando that sells real estate and wants to help people achieve financial independence and ultimately freedom.
That's awesome. Talking about this, how did you start and how did you scale that with, talk through us, okay, Omar, this is where I started. This is how I started scaling it and going through your investment journey.
Yeah, thanks. It really all started for me with a small little rental house that my wife and I bought shortly after we got married, and about a year after we had bought our primary residence. And it was just something I saw my dad doing. He was buying homes and keeping them as rentals, and it was just a model behavior. We got that, and that first rent check, I was like, wow, this is incredible passive income. This is cool. I got $1,000. I didn't do anything, right? So I was hooked on the idea of passive income, specifically through real estate investing, because it's a great way to also build wealth when you hold real estate over a long period of time. It just can't help but go up in value when you hold it for a long period of time. And we bought a few more rentals over the years, and then eventually I was going to be a dad. I didn't want to trade my time for money forever. And I traveled a lot for work at the time. So I went and got a new job. At the new job, my time wasn't as consumed in a 40-hour work week. I wasn't as busy. And so I decided to get a real estate license so that I could see more properties, maybe buy a few more. I wasn't really planning to leave my job, but I sold my first house 6 months after getting licensed. And I was like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And I became obsessed with how do I sell more real estate, and ended up specializing in working with real estate investors because it was a world I was more familiar with when it comes to real estate and real estate transactions, and found a lead source that I was able to convert pretty easily. And so we started to scale through there, and then COVID happened, and it was a crazy time to be in real estate comparatively. I also didn't know any different. I started building my team during COVID when I still had a full-time job, and I was so busy I needed extra people.
Awesome. That's awesome. So when it comes down to it, I would say, what do you think the best entry strategy might be for one, either new investors or someone looking to get to be into the position that you are now?
Yeah. So the position I find myself in now is that I still need active income, right? We've started to build a real estate portfolio, but every time I buy real estate, I'm buying real estate for the 65-year-old version of me, not the 40-year-old version of me, which I'm not 40 anymore, but 40-ish year old version of me, right? So I still work today. Now built a real estate business that gives me financial independence, right? I work on my own time schedule, and I eat what I kill, for lack of a better term. But for people that are just starting out, if you have a good job and you're still renting, just start by buying a place of your own, but do it like an investor would. And so my suggestion is house hacking, which is where you can buy a house and get roommates if you're that young and you're single. And I've actually seen married couples do it too. I wouldn't recommend it, but I've seen it done. Or buying a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex. These are residential real estate properties that you can buy using FHA, 3.5% down payment loan programs, or VA zero down loan programs. And you buy one of these places, you live in it for a couple of years, you rent out the additional units that helps you pay the mortgage, helps you pay down the principal on the loan. Over time, it'll increase in value. You're collecting those rents. And eventually you'll probably outgrow it, or maybe you like the idea of building a real estate empire. A couple years later, save up a little bit of a down payment and rinse repeat. Go do it again and start to build a portfolio of properties that will pay you while you're sleeping and will grow in value over time. The trick is you just never sell. That's the secret.
Would you say, okay, so let's say you buy your first property and now, like you said, okay, now you want to do the whole rinse and repeat process. Do you let that house work for you? Meaning, do you maybe look at something like a HELOC or something like that, where you could pull some equity from there and then to get ready to buy another investment property? Or would you say, no, just leave that there, let it
You
develop?
can, it's all going to be really relative to your situation, right? Everybody's got different goals and aspirations in terms of how quickly they can scale. I'm 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 pretty hesitant to tap into equity that you have in your properties unless you have a lot, and in which case you should just do a cash out refi to get the money that you want, because I don't like being over levered. So in that case, you turn to, how do I increase my income, reduce my expenses? And I think that if you plan to be active in real estate in any capacity, whether as an investor or you'd like to be in the business as a professional, you should get a real estate license. It's literally a license to do insider trading.
Yeah, and if you live in Florida, you have a driver's license and you have a real estate license. I think it's required to live in Florida. You need to have those two licenses. Am I correct?
A requirement in Florida to get one? No, but it's not hard, right? You go to the DMV, you get your driver's license, you go right next door, and you get your real estate license. The barrier to entry is really low, but honestly, even if you don't want to make a career out of doing real estate, if you have a good network of people that already know and trust you, maybe you're in another aspect of a professional services industry, and you have people that know, like, and trust you, getting a real estate license isn't a bad idea. And just becoming a resource for those people, just tell them, hey, if you need to get connected with a high quality agent in this market, I know them all and I can get you connected. And then, of course, they should call me and I'll take care of those people for them and
Cool.
pay them a referral fee, right?
Yeah.
You can increase your income just by getting people connected with a trusted professional in your local market.
No, I love that. I love that. So you said now that you got busy during the COVID time and you had to start looking for leverage. So that's when you started building up a team. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say, what was the backbone of, well, how do I want to say this? When you build something, it's like when you start hiring, you almost need to have automation. So what kind of automation did you start doing, or systems that you put in place that actually started helping you free up more of your time?
Yeah, so it actually, the first kind of automation that I did, I actually implemented while I was in 2020. I sold that first house and I had some money. I wanted to make it work. I had a full-time job that paid for my living expenses. So when I sold that first house, that commission, I didn't need any of that money. I was looking for ways to take $1 and turn it into $5, that kind of thing. So I started to invest in my business early. I got connected with somebody who, he ran an agency, he generated leads, and he would build automated email and texting. And I think he had a lady that would call those leads to try to set appointments for you. I signed up with him, but mostly because I said, hey, yeah, sure, I'm interested in maybe doing that. But could you build an automated system for these bigger pockets leads that I was getting at the time, where basically I just got an email? And I had a full-time job and I was trying to connect with those people quickly, right? Because speed to lead is really important in any kind of lead generation campaign. And so he ended up building a custom automation system in a platform called Go High Level that essentially sent them an email and then a text campaign immediately after we getting the lead, just inviting them to book a call with us. And so because of the type of lead that they were and the platform they were being generated from, by using that automation, we actually convert those leads at about a 50% ratio to a booked appointment just by having that automation. And we've, of course, evolved the automation over the years. But now, if someone comes through that lead channel, we plan to text them for at least the next 2 years.
Okay. And as far as Go High Level, I've heard that before. Is that a CRM?
Yeah, so Go High Level is it's a marketing tool, CRM, funnel builder, calendar scheduling tool, database. You can do all sorts of different things with us with it. I no longer contract somebody to do that for me. I now just have my own instance of Go High Level, and now I'm in complete control of the system.
Okay, cool. So like you said, it sends texts, it sends emails, and then I'm assuming phone calls you have to do yourself, correct?
So we've got a phone line automated through there, but yeah, we don't do any kind of AI calling or anything like that. We just email and text people to
Mhm.
book an appointment. And then once the appointment's booked, then we call them at the time that they selected.
Okay, all right. And so when it comes to that, one of the things, so I'm thinking about listening to what you're saying, and as far as, do you have a hybrid team or how's your team run now?
So we've always been a virtual team, meaning that we don't have any physical office spaces. When I started my team, I was at a company called eXp Realty. It was the first cloud-based brokerage. I this year I made a move to LPT Realty. Similar model, similar platforms, maybe a little bit different paint on the wall, slightly different compensation structure, that sort of thing. But otherwise, very similar companies. But these companies allow me to run my business as a real estate agent without needing to have a physical office location. And so many of the people that are a part of my team have full-time jobs or run other businesses as well. And being a part of the team, they get support without needing to run to an office to talk to somebody. We just do all of our meetings virtual.
And how do you run that team? Because I know it's right now a lot of agents are pretty much part-time because it is a tougher market right now. It's one of those where you were talking about 3, 4 years ago where things were just instantly selling. You had a real estate license. Oh, this is so easy. Now you need skills, right? And now when you have that part-time agent, what are you doing to within your team? What are you doing to really bring make that part-time agent probably because usually part-time agents don't want to be part-time agents for long. Their goal is to work towards a full-time agent. What systems are you putting in place right now to help that person to move the needle over if they wanted to? Being
Yeah,
the hybrid team, of course.
yeah, I think the biggest challenge for part-time people is two things. One, it's they don't have enough leverage to be able to really be effective. And so anybody that's on our team, they never fill out paperwork ever. You don't handle that stuff. You fill out a quick Google form and we'll take care of everything else for you. So I think that's a big thing. But also, as a part-time agent, every once in a while, you're going to run into that situation where a buyer you're working with calls you and says, "Hey, I really need to go look at this house right now. It just came on the market. It's exactly what we want. We're afraid we're going to lose it. Can you show it to me in an hour?" And I'm sorry, but if you have a full-time job, chances are you're like, "No, I can't. Can I meet you at 6?" If you lose out on a house one time with that buyer, I don't care how good of friends they are with you, they're not calling you the next time they negotiate another house. And if they're not a great friend that'll say, "Yeah, I can wait till 6," they're going to go on Zillow and they're going to click that little talk to an agent button, and you're never going to hear from them again.
Yeah.
When you're on a team like ours and that happens, you call me or someone else on our team because we do have people that are full time, and you go, "Hey, I've got a buyer that really want to see this house in an hour. Can you help me out?" And you now actually have the ability to run your business as a part-time agent because you can still give them that level of service that you would if you were full time because you're not doing it alone. Not to mention that when it comes to negotiations and just working through every deal, you're not doing it alone. I'm going to be doing it with you. My transaction coordinator that does a lot more transactions than me because she does it with other people as well. She's going to be involved to help check things and make sure that your client gets the very best experience in the home sale or purchase process. And you look like an absolute rock star that's going to get that referral to their cousin or whoever down the road because you did a really great job, but you didn't have to quit your job to do it. It's one of those things where that's the biggest challenge is having the leverage. Or if you're brand new and you're starting part-time because you can't afford to quit your job, then your challenge is competency. They don't know whether or not you know how to actually do it. And you can just answer those questions about how long have you been licensed or how many deals have you done by saying, actually, I'm brand new. That's why I joined this team. They do lots of deals. Team leader's also an investor. He's super sharp. When would be a good time for us to talk with him? I can get him on the phone for you.
Mm, love
And
that.
then we're going to build that person up and help again throughout the transactional process and bring all of our experience and knowledge to help those people win in what is more than likely the largest financial transaction of their lives.
Yeah, 100%. So this is a two-part question for you. We're going to be talking here about common mistakes to avoid. So what's a common mistake that you should avoid as a newer agent? And what's a common mistake you should avoid as an experienced agent?
It's a great question. As a newer agent, I really think you should avoid the trap of telling everyone I'm in real estate. Send me all the people that might be looking to buy or sell. You'll get on people's nerves. It may be somewhat effective. Instead, just use a different approach. It's the right idea because you want everyone to know what you do and to never forget. That way, when their cousin says, yeah, I think we're going to be moving to so and so, they go, what are you going to do at the house? You should talk to, right? So you want to be top of mind. It's just the wrong approach. Focus on the relationship. Ask it, follow the Ford methodology, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. If you ask someone enough questions about them, eventually they're going to ask you about you. And when they ask you about you, that's permission for you to talk. And at that point, you could say, actually, I'm really excited. I just got started doing real estate. I joined this great team. Actually, let me ask you, who do you know that might be moving in the next 6 months? And just have a different approach. But the common mistake is I'm going to call my friends and family and ask them to give me business. Don't do it that way. It's the right idea. It's just the wrong approach.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that because I think a lot of newer agents, and sometimes it's through the training that they get, or if they've been listening to something or they're on YouTube or whatnot, and it's it's one of those things. I'm like, listen, number one, be human. I understand that you want to talk about yourself, but if now that you're in the people business now, it's a completely different animal. So I asked those open-ended questions, like you just said. How's your family? No, I asked the forward questions. Yeah, because then from there, then sooner or later they're gonna pause 90% of the time. They're gonna ask you about what are you doing now, and that's when you have your chance. People like talking about themselves, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's a great book called Selling by an agent owner called Larry Kendall. And it's a great book for anybody that's thinking about getting into real estate sales. It's a great book for them. But he talks about how it's a time of possession game. And if you have more time of possession in speaking, you're losing. It's an important thing for agents to remember. As seasoned agents, I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and I learned this recently, is that when you're dealing with new buyers again, they've not done this 160 times, 150 times, however many times that you've been through a real estate transaction. And so it's not just humdrum, and they don't know all the things that you know. So you have to be really intentional about building processes where you're having all the conversations about what they can expect, what the timeline's going to look like, who they could and should reach out to if they have questions, and just checking in to make sure that they know that they're doing okay and everything's moving along smoothly.
Love it, love it. Now, what would you say are the habits though that will actually lead to that long-term success as a real estate agent?
Consistency, that's not really a habit, but it's just about making contacts. This business is all about talking to people, so you have to be having conversations. There's lots of ways to do that in to communicate with people in today's world, but eventually you're going to need to talk to them on the phone. So the number one habit is just being in front of people, right? Social media is a very easy way to do that, but you need to have a plan and you need to be super consistent with being out there, and don't post once a day, post two, three times a day. I it, I don't get like a ton of business from social media, but I get a lot of people that mention that they see my stuff, they like my stuff. Oh, that's really good. And these are people that otherwise would be somewhat strangers to me if it were not for that, but they feel like they know me. And so I feel confident that when and if they ever have a real estate need, they're probably going to contact me.
Yeah, that's a great point that you made about the social media. Like, okay, I feel as if when someone says, I feel as if I know you. And I think what a lot of people need to understand is with social media, it's a great tool. It's also a very dangerous tool, but at the same time, when you want somebody to get to know who you really are, like if you post content about there, let's say you're a gym rat, a parent, and then whatever it is that you own your business, if you combine all those things together, then people can really start having that connection with you. And I think that's really important, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You need to, whether you like it or not, you need to somehow incorporate social media into your process, into your business, because you need to make that connection. That person at the end of the day wants to go out, and if they do choose you, let's say you're in real estate, they want to make sure they know you, They want to go buying a house with friends, not an absolute stranger, right?
Yeah, 100%. And you want them to know that you're still in business. So it's really important to just keep putting it out there, right? A lot of agents don't make it in this business, right? And there may even be some hesitation when people start to see somebody post on social media about being a real estate agent, right? But if you make it past year 2, past year 3, past year 4, past year 5, it starts to get a lot easier, but you also need to keep making sure that people know that you're still in business, you can help them, you want to be a resource, and it'll keep the phone ringing.
No, I love that. So let's dive in a little bit more about you. As far as what kind of personal growth routines and strategies do you do to make sure that number one, you stay who you are, and to be that leader for your team?
So I spend time most days reading the Bible and spending time in meditation about that. And then I try to read books, usually audiobooks when I'm driving around, but always trying to learn. That's really the only way that you can grow, is to constantly be learning. And I'm fortunate that I also have a father who's a life coach. And I don't mean like that in the way that any parent would be a life coach for their child, certified through International Coaching Federation type life coach.
Real deal. Love it. That's awesome. All right. When it came to hiring your team, what kind of, let's see, how do I want to ask this question? What are some lessons that you key hiring lessons and leadership traits that you were either looking for when you brought somebody on, or even that you learned about yourself as you were going through the whole process?
Sure. I've hired more agents than I currently have on my team. So I think the first thing that anyone that's maybe thinking about hiring a team should know is that you will have churn, you will have turnover. It's just the nature of the beast. I think it really bothered me initially when somebody would leave my team, and it would really bother me if people would come in and not have success in the industry. But I've gotten away from feeling that kind of way. I just understand that every so I guess my approach is I try to give everyone an opportunity to get access to my knowledge, which I can point them in the direction of how they could start, how they could build a business, how they could scale it. But if they're not willing to take the consistent action on a daily basis that'll be required, then they just won't make it. And I've released myself from being responsible for the results for the most part, because in almost all these cases, people just didn't show up to do the work. So I guess I'm a little jaded now than I was initially, but initially it was an abundance of business and we found some folks, and then eventually it turned into, if you're going to start a team and lead a team, it needs to be for your own benefit as a team leader as well as for the benefit of others. And so we've done some restructuring in how our team is structured now, and the people that are on our team now are in more alignment with who we want to be and where we're focused. And people are either going to mesh with the culture or they won't, and that's okay either way.
So do you find yourself, and I think what I heard from what you said is, okay, we built a team maybe by accident or in purpose, but then now as we built the team and as we gain more experience being a team leader per se, now we've set a bar that, listen, if you want to be on this team, here's the expectations that we need, number one, before we even consider you coming on. Because just like you said, if you're going to be on our team, understand that this is our level, this is a threshold that you need to be at, because you don't want to waste your time, right? You want to make sure that whatever time you're giving to that person, that you're getting it back in some other way. And
Yeah.
obviously being on the team. So now is it that you guys say, you know what, Omar, let's say I want to join your team, for example. No, listen, unfortunately you can't because you haven't met this much in stats and this, that, and the other. Is that what you guys done now? Could lifted that bar a little bit? No, you need to be here before you can join us.
No, we still, I mean, we actually hire brand new people all the time. It's been the bulk of the people that we've hired. But I also understand what the fallout rate is. And I think a lot of people get a license and want to get started, but they don't understand what it actually takes to be successful. And when they find out, they just choose not to do any activity that would be required to get them to their goal. And so I released myself from that kind of result. We'll take anybody. I believe honestly that if somebody is doing 5 or 6 deals a year, I can help them do 12 because I can take so much off of their plate if they were to join our team and they could focus on more dollar productive activities. I think that's where the crux gets for a lot of people. You do, 8 deals a year and you go, wow, that was good, but you feel like it's a lot of work because you did everything yourself.
Hmm.
You didn't hire a transaction coordinator. You didn't hire a VA or an admin that can help you do a lot of the back end stuff so that you could actually start to grow and scale. And now you're doing newsletters and you're hosting client events. And because that's really what it starts to take in order to really grow and scale. And we've already figured it out for folks, and they can just plug in and we can help them really start to amplify their growth over time. But for some people, it's going to come at a little bit of a cost. My goal is that you see the value in what we can do. But even if you're brand new, you can come join the team. We're going to tell you what to do. That's probably going to be open houses and calling all your friends and family because I think that's the best way to start building your own database. And then we're going to teach you how you stay in touch with that database. We're going to help you stay in touch with that database and be the backbone, the support, the expertise when you do get that first opportunity that you can actually get it to the closing table and turn it into dollars into your bank account, even in a tough market like we find ourselves today.
Love that. I would say this, what kind of strategies for maintaining culture are you trying to keep together as you keep on scaling your team?
Yeah, so we got a weekly team meeting just like most teams do. And we hope that people show up and participate in that. Some people don't. And that's okay. It shows us who's really bought into what we're doing and who's really wanting to grow with us. And then we also do probably quarterly team events where we just get together. One of our lender partners usually sponsors the event. We just go have some fun, have some food, have some drinks, have some get togetherness time. And then I'm always inviting folks to come out to whatever learning event that I'm going to. I'm constantly going out to different learning events here in the Orlando market put on by our local title companies and lender partners and other folks. Real Producer Magazine, which is all about the real estate industry. They do some great learning events with some of the top agents here in our market every single month. And so I'm always inviting folks to come out and hang out with me at those events. And it's just a relationship business. I do try to maintain one-on-one relationships with people today that are on the team. Obviously, if they're not showing up to meetings or they don't show up to the one-on-ones that I do schedule for every person on my team, then we just stop doing those meetings. You're not coming. So if you call me and say, hey, can I get back on your calendar? Yeah, you can get back on my calendar. But I don't chase people that aren't showing up in the first place. I got other places I go spend my time.
No, I love that, man. You hit the nail on the head. I love it how you have some people that would sit there, oh, I want to do open houses. And they're like, oh, I want to do open houses Friday and Saturday. And then all of a sudden you don't hear from them. They're like, hey, you haven't scheduled me any open houses. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to schedule for you. I thought you need to reach out to us and let us know. So no, that understand that, this is your responsibility, not ours.
No, we've got a whole training. We teach them how to go find a house to hold open because our broker has several listings in this area, right? That's one of the big secrets is you can hold any of your broker's listings open. You still have to call the other agent and ask them, but legally you're allowed to. I can host any LPT listing open. So we teach them how to go find those listings, teach them what you say when you call the listing agent, teach them what you do to get set up for the open house. We even have a talk track and some marketing materials that go with you to the house. And open houses are great for new agents because it should help you determine whether or not you want to do this. There's other ways to do business, right? You don't have to do open houses, but if you do a few, you'll know whether or not you'll like them. But if you do them consistently, they can be absolutely gold. And it's a great way to practice on the public and start to build the sales skills that you need in order to be able to be successful in this industry.
Love that. Great points. Great points. All right, two more questions. This one here, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. What do you think your predictions are for the real estate market in the next 12 months?
So it's a great question. I'm going to punt because I'm going to use a prediction that I got back in 2001 from an economist that was speaking at the Bigger Pockets conference in New Orleans. I forget his name. I'm sure I can go back and look it up. But he claimed to do predictions for the United States government. Probably a pretty good guy. He predicted what we saw with interest rates, that they were going to climb because of inflation. Granted, and we were having these conversations in 21 with historically low interest rates, right? But he predicted that in 22 we were going to see rates rise because inflation was getting out of control. And he thought that they were going to continue to go up or stay high through the end of 2027, through the end of 2026. And then, unfortunately, he felt like there would be some sort of widespread economic recession in the United States that would affect housing prices. And that would then cause the Fed to actually start to lower interest rates again. So that was his economic output. I have no reason to not believe him, considering what he said so far has pretty much come true. And he's got a pretty good track record of these kinds of predictions for the United States government. So that's what I've hung my hat on. Right now, it's a buyer's market here in Central Florida, which I think is a good opportunity for investors that have capital to go ahead and start buying. I don't know if we're at the bottom or if there's lower prices to come, but I do know that time in the market is always better than timing the market. And so if you have the capacity to buy and you're comfortable with the payment or it'll cash flow positive, then I think you should, because you should own it for at least 10 years anyways. And I think that we'll be in a very different market cycle or a very different in price point in 10 years from now.
I hope so. But I mean, if economics and history tell us anything, we should be. So I do agree with you there on that, especially with the timeline. All right, last question. And I asked this to everybody. So if you could leave just one deed behind, one action, mindset, or even a lesson for any real estate professional that's listening or an entrepreneur listening today, what would it be?
Your limiting beliefs are what's holding you back. In spite of everything else, that's the one thing that'll hold you back, because the fact that you don't think you can do it is why you're probably not taking that first action. Challenge those thoughts, those beliefs. When you think about doing something, you go, oh no, I can't do that. Because challenge that, because ask somebody else if they think it's true.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love that. That's spot on. That is so spot on. Well, I definitely want to make sure that, you know what, guys, Tyler's been amazing today. He's definitely left us a lot of gold nuggets. Hope you guys enjoyed having him on the show. I know I did, personally myself, Tyler. So thank you again for taking time out of your day to meet with us. Guys, we're going to have all the contact details for Tyler right below, so you can always reach out to him or his team, whatever questions you may have. Make sure you connect with him on social. All right. So, guys, I'm signing out. Remember, actions build empires. Stay focused, stay hungry, and give life a 1-0. I'm Omar Andreasen. Thanks so much for tuning in to Mr. Deeds.
Thanks for having me.
This is Omar Andreasen signing off and reminding you that success in real estate and in life is built one deed at a time. Until next time, keep it real, stay sharp, and don't forget to give life a big whammo and keep moving forward.